peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
It is ridiculous and it is against the laws of nature that we can have somebody sitting pretty who takes home more money than the credible entrepreneur who is doing actual production of goods and services.
We always say it as it is. It is only in this country that when a thief is arrested, you hear elders from their tribe saying, "He is our son and he is our thief."
If you are deviant and I call you leader,
Yes.
probably you are already a leader, but you are leading in the wrong direction.
We want to see the role of the youth in the security, governance, and development.
The youth that I meet and work with here, you know, we call them the millennials and X and Ys, this and that. They don't necessarily want to live like their fathers and grandfathers, do business like their fathers and grandfathers. They're more independent, they're better educated, and they're the ones that are making everything move in this region.
We look at the issues, we talk about issues that impact people's lives in Africa. The African peoples themselves continue to cheer bad leaders, and because they cheer them on, they continue to be misled.
Let me ask you, doctor, would you rather be somebody who does not enjoy so much freedom but you are rich?
Yes.
Or you'd rather be poor who you are actually imprisoned by the poverty itself?
My goal is not to come here and say, I want the majority ownership, I want to own this, I want to own that, I want to do this. My goal is we all make money and we're all happy, and I help build a big business here.
Punchline is for Africa, with Africa, from Africa.
Fellow Ambazonians and fellow Africans, for more than 3 years, I have stood high. I have walked the valleys. I've walked the mountains of Africa, trying to bring about the plight, to expose the plight of the people of Ambazonia. Since the killings started 3 years ago, the closure of schools, the closure of courts, the closure of hospitals, dispensaries, the destruction of infrastructure, the cutting off of telephones and internet supply to the people of Ambazonia. I have stood high amongst the people of Africa to fight for the restoration of the rights of the people of Ambazonia. Yesterday was yet another darker day for the imprisonment of 10 Ambazonians who stood for peace, who talked for peace, who wanted to be heard, who wanted dialogue, and were ready to put dialogue down as a basis of discussion to bring about a peaceful end to the conflict of Ambazonia in Cameroon. For these 3 years, I've called upon the international community, upon African Union, to bring a debate to the table of the African heads of state about the suffering of the people of Ambazonia. I have done it voluntarily, walked, traveled to African Union in summits, trying to fight for this debate to be brought on the agenda of African Union summits. I have petitioned the Secretary General of the Commonwealth, Baroness Scotland, my friend, in a letter that I dispatched to both the Commonwealth Office of Her Majesty the government in Britain and in the Commonwealth, in the fight for the people of Ambazonia. I've done my best. I've interviewed the people on these television stations. I have done my best. I've interviewed various leaders from SACU, from the others, TAPU. 7 of them have been on my television station. Mr. Kanga, all of them, most of them, and I will continue to do so, to interview most of them who will take part in the fight for the restoration of a state called Ambazonia. I have not and I will not take any intimidation, neither will I succumb to any pressure from Paul Biya's cohorts and his surrogates who roam around the world distorting the facts about what is happening in Ambazonia. I am not a Cameroonian, I am a Pan-African. A Pan-African who wants a peaceful Africa. An Africa cannot integrate when one part of Africa is being destroyed by a dictator called Paul Biya. It is impossible. Therefore, we call upon the international community, the United States of America, the British government to intervene, to give freedom to the people, the 10 men jailed for life for having asked for dialogue, to speak with the president or the people of Cameroon to find an amicable solution for the people of Ambazonia. I call upon the Commonwealth, the AU, the United Nations, ECOWAS, SADC, East African Community, IGAD, to put pressure on the people of the government of Cameroon to give dialogue a chance in an event. Also call upon Switzerland, which is taking part in making people negotiate, to now look at this new threat as a threat that can change the dynamics on the ground. The war that has been taken to the people of Ambazonia cannot stop when the basic needs of the people, the suffering of the women, the children who have never gone to school for the last 3 years is not lifted. I want to thank you very much, all of you who have listened to my discussions for the last 3 years, that I will continue doing so until there is a solution found for the people of Ambazonia. Long live the people of Ambazonia. Long live African unity. Thank you. Viewers, those listening to this tape or this video, I want to bring to your attention that the politics of proxy wars in Africa is becoming real, and it has become a reality. I want to bring to this the attention of the African states that time and time again we have fallen victims of proxy wars. We fight wars that are not ours. We fall in conflicts that are not supposed to be, don't help Africa, and they don't help our countries at all. The proxy war that is in East and Central and the Horn of Africa has been ignited, supported, equipped by France. It has been very real that the French government, quietly through its company called Total Oil, has been searching for resources around the triangle of East and Central Africa and the Great Lakes region and the Horn of Africa. The LAPSET was one of them, which could have been a landmark project for the people of France. They withdrew from it. The Tanga to Mwanza, they made it, they withdrew from it. The search for oil and resources through Total Oil has brought us the dangers of a proxy war in the region. It is therefore very prudent for people of the region to understand the dynamics that we are going through. For example, in Rwanda and the Burundi conflict, there is a proxy war. We are fighting a proxy country. It has brought us to a war between the two countries, between Uganda and Rwanda and Burundi. There is a proxy war in Congo who is sponsoring a resurgence of rebels that are fighting President Tshisekedi because he was not supported by countries that we know very well. This type of strategy has happened in North Africa, where Libya has been reduced to rebels, where each faction, even the government supported by United Nations, is being bombarded by a rebel called Khalifa Haftar, who is funded by countries that we know. The question of Somalia and the Kenyan maritime presents a challenge, a test case for Africa and East Africa to stand firm and denounce the actions of countries that bring proxy wars and proxy politics in our region. It is therefore my humble submission that for this conflict, for this to end, we must do enough publicity, advocacy around the area to tell and explain to the international community why this problem is going to create an imbalance in the peace in the region, and the regional peace will be affected. It is therefore my humble submission that as a Ugandan whose troops, brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers of other many millions Ugandans who are in Somalia, condemn any action by the Somali government to try to resolve issues that should have been resolved amicably as Africans within the African confines. I submit, therefore, that some of us will go a mile further to do now, from now onwards, to expose, to show the challenges of these countries that make us fight a proxy war in Africa. Thank you very much for listening. God bless you.
Thank you very much. Welcome back to Punchline Africa TV, broadcasting all the way from Nairobi, the Republic of Kenya. Viewers, wherever you are in Africa, this is our Plan African station, a station that looks at African issues, what ails Africa, what kills Africa. How can we resolve our own problems without inviting any other person to come to this continent to bring us more headache? Do we have a lot of headache? Do we have progress? This time is Kenya. In Kenya, President Uhuru Kenyatta has brought what we call a transformational agenda, an agenda that is going to take shape, that can bring Kenya by 2022 to world-class economy, to world-class health people, a universal health care, to world-class food security, to world-class affordable housing, and to increasing jobs through manufacturing and construction of houses. President Uhuru Kenyatta has stated that this is the most important aspect of his legacy, that he would like to leave a legacy in Kenya by having these items tackled. You in the county, wherever you are in this country, those representatives of ours, of the ones that are in those counties, one by one, wherever you were, in Kakamega, in Bungoma, in Turkana, in Moyale, in Mosabit, in Mandera, in Coast, most of you know what we want to be done. We want to find out exactly, and other places, Taveta, Migori, Siaya, Kisumu, Eldoret, which is North UG, which is also Narok. We want to know what is supposed to be done. What can be done to change the lives of the people of those counties and other counties in Kenya? What can we do to change, to help the governors, the local people, the citizens? What can we do to improve our housing? What can we do to improve our food security, to have enough food such that the food can never be a problem to Africa at all? Year in, year out, or year out, year in, we are begging for donors to bring us relief food. Yet we have arable land that is underutilized. Why can't we look at the arable land and start changing methods of farming, methods, tools? How much do we need to change our food production? Britain is a quarter of this country. But Britain has enough food to keep itself for over 200 to 400 years. Our food storage, do we need to look at it? Our food preservation, do we need to look at it? To improve food security, you need to talk about all these things. And that's why President Uhuru Kenyatta has said, let's talk about them. Let's tackle them now, so that by 2022, we leave a legacy for others who will take politically the train and the leadership of this country, going on that route. Instead, what has happened in Kenya, people are not thinking of the Agenda 4. Is it because the Big 4 action plan, people don't know what they are supposed to do? Is it because the research is not enough? What is the value that you can get out of a good house? What is the value that you can get if the industry is near your home? How many of us think of creating some small cottage industries, fishing, ponds, creating a simple pond and getting fish that will grow in the pond? How many of us can think of good health care? How can we change our health care system in Kenya? How can it be changed? Can it be changed by merely all the time saying, this is what we want? Or can it be done in a different way? To think, to bring in such that every 50 to 100,000 people have got a doctor and a GP who can have a referral system to refer them to diseases that cannot be treated in those small clinics or small GPs, which are many hospitals. The onus is upon us, upon the people of Kenya, wherever they are, with the help of any other people. Our role as a television station and the media is to publicize these initiatives of the president. We publicize the media, tell it as it is, writing in digital platform, writing on our Facebook. Our numbers, several representatives all over the whole counties are busy as we talk, writing and talking about the Big Four. They are busy engaging in the Big Four activities to make sure that advocacy, campaign, publicity, to make sure that people are aware. We talk about food security. You can't have food security when you are cutting down all the trees. There will be no water. You can't have food security when you don't know whether there's water or this water is alkaline. When you see rhinos being transferred from place where water was not alkaline and taken to alkaline infested waters and they die, there is something wrong with the systems. So we need to come and talk about these things. We need to engage the citizens for them to choose what is available and what they want in their counties. Punchline Africa TV, therefore, engages the people every morning until the next coming several months. We shall be engaging people. We shall be talking about this Big Four. I now invite you to a clip that talks about the Big Four of the Jubilee administration. What can we do, and what can we do as citizens of Africa to help ourselves so that we don't get into a quagmire state that other countries find when they call for food, when they call for housing, when you see in South Africa, in Kenya, the slums mushrooming, Gorogocho, in Madare, in all these places. What can we do to elevate the lives of the people in those slum-affected areas?
Viewers, those listening to this tape or this video, I want to bring to your attention that I want to call upon the people of Ambazonia today, wherever you are in the diaspora in Ambazonia itself, that in a struggle you are bound to have divisions. But divisions should not divert you from the main focus, the main challenge. We have struggled to expose the happenings, the human rights abuses, in Ambazonia. The army has killed hundreds and hundreds of thousands, burnt houses of people, internet was cut off, schools were closed, dispensaries, hospitals were burnt down. Ambazonians should not be intimidated by Paul Robia. It is not upon the leaders of Ambazonia, because I am not from Ambazonia, but I've played a pivotal role in making sure that I loud out the voices, I put out the call, I call upon AU, EU, United Nations, Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International. Many of them have listened to some of the things that I say here, and they have come at last. America, United States of America, is slowly moving towards giving the Ambazonian people the dignity they deserve. I therefore call upon the leaders and the leadership of the Ambazonian people to unite for a purpose. The unity of purpose is paramount, as opposed to disunity, which has nothing but only produces ego that we have seen in South Sudan. What has killed South Sudan is not because they don't have the money, the minerals, the resources. Is ego between Riek Machar and Salva Kiir. We would not like to see that ego come to the people of Ambazonia, the leadership of Ambazonia. I call upon Samuel Sako, Akanga, Miran, and Eko to unite and talk with one voice on international scene that will bring about the peace, the tranquility that you yearn for since 1961, when the resolution 1608 was abandoned by the United Nations General Assembly and Ambazonia was annexed by the Cameroon government by then. I call upon you, my brothers, to pick up the unity call and free your people without disintegration. Thank you. Thank you very much, viewers. Welcome to Punchline Africa television, broadcasting all the way from Nairobi, the Republic of Kenya. Viewers, wherever you are, thank you very much. We are in the process of discussing. This is our show. This is Punchline Africa TV, broadcasting all the way from Nairobi in the Republic of Kenya. Viewers, we delayed a bit, but here we are on course. We are going to deliver the Africa Showdown, beginning with topics that were laid down. One of the topics that will be done is the topic of Kenya, intensification of corruption fight, the fight against corruption. The fight against corruption to intensify in Kenya. The DPP, DCI, EACC, the KRA, and other agencies are now out to make sure that the fight is sustained. And this is going to take place. There is no regrets about that. If you are declaring goods that are made, declare the goods. You can't produce alcohol, then you declare soft goods, soft drinks, soft water. This is the problem, and the people must understand that this is the way government has lost quite a lot. If you have given enough stamps for declaring alcohol, declare alcohol. For 4 years, 4 months or so, the agencies, investigative agencies, had planted quite a lot of people within the factory. All the factory sectors had people who monitored the entire system of how money is lost, how money is, undervalued, how goods are undervalued, how declarations are made. You can't produce bottled water and call it different thing. You must call it bottled water. The tax on bottled water and the soft drinks are different. That is the corruption charges in going on in Kenya, the Republic of Kenya, and we shall talk about it at length. Second, the vibes of the president. President Uhuru Kenyatta seemed to have become more of a religious icon this week, saying so many parables. But there is one thing to conclude his parables. He said, whoever is hearing, those who have ears, hear. Last week, the same week, on 22nd, last week, when he was on the memorial service of his late father, he told people a parable. He said it. It is not the question of where you come from, but how you lead the people. What qualities do you have as a Kenyan to be able to become a leader without straining the Kenyans, without dividing Kenyans, without hate-mongering Kenyans, without intrigue, without destroying, without violence? Why is this not happening in other places? Why are people not listening to the president? President Uhuru Kenyatta has made it very clear that he wants to leave a legacy. The vibes of the legacy, we shall look at that. Next on our program, the troubling issue of Kenya and Somalia. It looks like it has given us the troubling over the weekend. Several of these letters kept on Kenya wrote, Somalia wrote. We shall look at that. Then we come to the situation in South Sudan. President Salva Kiir was in Uganda meeting President Museveni. I want to thank President Museveni for taking further initiative to make sure that the peace process that was brokered by IGAD takes place, takes off, and the assembly of all SPLM, all SPLA soldiers, all the combatants starts taking place. But there is one thing that I want to caution, that the ego, we have ego among the leaders of South Sudan and the leaders of who are involved in this war. Dr. Riek Machar is one of the few leaders involved in this war. Is he willing to come to table? Is he willing to be a member of a key player? Is he willing to be subjected to scrutiny that we want? That is what we want to talk about today. Thank you very much, viewers. This is exactly the situation that we look for and what we want to bring about in Africa. It is this that makes me come here every Sunday. But before that, we want to look at another interesting situation. The situation in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe poses a threat. It's the economy, the curse of Zimbabwe. I've written a very long article which you can get on www.com, panafricanforumltd.com, or you can get it on my page on my Facebook. It's a very long, it's a good article which any person in Zimbabwe must read. Is it the minister that you plucked from an institution of the breadwoods and brought into Zimbabwe who is messing the economy? You can't have a minister who is only upping the prices, not giving you solutions. Zimbabwe needs solutions. That is what we are going to look at. We shall again cross over to look at the clampdown. The clampdown of Ambazonia. Ambazonia seemed to be under the hammer or Paul Biya again. It has been clamped down, and here we are. We seem to have everybody there is being beaten up, locked up. There is no movement at all, not even animals in the bush. So there is a clampdown in Ambazonia today as we speak. That's another topic. Another one country that we shall look at is Nigeria. Nigeria, can Africa help to destroy Boko Haram? Is Nigeria failing to tell us that there is a problem? Can they tell us where the problem is? Is this country able to tackle the menace of terrorism? It looks like terrorism is capturing parts, and many people are still suffering under siege of terror groups in Nigeria. And also the peace, what is going on in the southeastern parts of Nigeria, where very many people are talking of human rights abuses that have been committed by the security forces against the people there. It is sad that Nigeria, a country that we look at as Africans, has ended in that angle. So we shall look at it down. Let's begin with Kenya. The news Sunday, the Sunday Standard has a headline: shock as 90 teachers quit National Union of Tea in a tussle. Something is going wrong in NAT, and that something is called Mr. Sassoni. Mr. Sassoni, who was a Secretary General, overstayed. You see, one of the problems that we have in Africa is overstaying in power. And once you stay in power, you lose the credibility. You look to the credibility of the people who elected you. You start making mistakes. You start killing them. You start subjecting them to inhuman treatment. And that is when you become useless. Sassoni has overstayed in the teachers' union. He went to parliament. He is not even a teacher. If you ask Sassoni when he can become a teacher and teach, it is impossible for him to do so. And that is why I am saying it is very regrettable that this has happened in the situation of this nature, and Sassoni has lost over 90 members. Let's take a break, and when we come back, we want to look at, quickly in 1 minute, I want to take this call from another person. Hold on, those who want to call now, just call. I will take a few minutes rearranging the equipment for discussion. Conflicts in Africa have become the daily occurrence. Daily occurrences in many countries, in the sense that almost every African country, apart from the few, there is tension. One wonders where this tension at times comes from. Some of it comes from elections, a manufactured election, a disputed election results. Some come from territory. Some are terrorist-based, like that of Somalia and Boko Haram. Some are because of regime change, purely sponsored by external forces. But 95 to 96% of conflicts in Africa occur through the sponsorship of external darker forces that would like to benefit out of the spoils of war. George Soros stands as one person who has always been and will always be and shall be until the end a man who sponsors any type of chaos, who does not follow which type of chaos he is sponsoring, as long as it is chaos that can topple a person he hates in Africa. Many African countries are undergoing this pressure, this tension, especially those that are conducting elections and whose timetable for elections seem to be coming in the near future. As a result of that, Africa stands warned, and Africa must stand on alert about the external forces that want to dismember this continent and create heavens of war, create insecurity, create mirage peace that Africans have fought after 66 years of gaining political independence. It is therefore my submission that most African countries, if they don't look at what George Soros is doing, we might have a shocker one morning, one by one African country being pushed out and the leaders being pushed out of power. The events therefore in South Africa, as proved from these detailed undercover operations, they prove that George Soros indeed has a say in South African politics. And therefore, we want to urge Africans and African heads of state and their military and intelligence systems to be careful and watch on the amount of money that is being pumped into their economies, because some of the money could be George Soros money that will end up to bring public disorder in most of the African countries. Thank you very much, viewers. Very much, viewers. Welcome back. That is the Africa we are talking about. That is the Africa where we have so many forces against us. But are we able to change these forces? Are we able to fight them? Are we able to make sure that we work for Africa? That is my question. Today, here we are. The Standard of newspaper of Kenya says 2.3 billion South Africa funds linked to Dusit attack. The investigators have gone to South Africa to find out people who sent 2.3 billion shillings to several owners of the accounts and the people in Dusit. Was there something external that happened? We lost 21 people and a property that we cannot bring back. Yesterday, it was a burial day for most of our people, especially those in the region of Kenya, where we say most people attended. We lost an icon. President Uhuru Kenyatta was there to bury, and the vice president, the deputy president, plus many other musicians who lined up with their guitars and hats, which was a trademark of the dead or the deceased musician. He was laid to rest at his home. May his soul rest in peace. On the Sunday nation of Kenya, we have taxman goes for billions. That links with our topic of the karaoke. If you have been manufacturing water or alcohol, then you declare alcohol as water, or you declare water as alcohol, you are mixing up your own administrative taxation system. That's why this lady has found herself in a very awkward position, that she has been told it is not the same as she thinks. It is sad, therefore, that we lost a great friend. But we have also now come back to reality for people to understand that taxation is the key to a development of any nation, of any nature. If you are declaring, you have been given the stamps by KRA, if you produce 10 million bottles of alcohol, make sure that you declare the 10 million bottles of alcohol, not 10 million bottles of water. I have seen the struggle. Our investigative journalists found out that for more than 4 months in that industry, in that factory, they were placed up, investigators posing as workers. And this is, they worked, they recorded, they saw, and that is why the DPP, DCI, EACC, KRA moved in to make sure that they take Miss Tabitha Karanja, not because of anything else. It's not a political witch hunt. It is not. This question of buying bloggers to turn around to say it is a political witch hunt should come to an end. It is sad, therefore, that for us in this world, when people want to fight corruption, we have a problem. Corruption is the cancer of Africa. Whether you are who or who, let it come out very clear that the people of Kenya and Africa must fight it. What is causing trouble in most of these African countries is corruption. Corruption has killed the fabric of this. There is also a very bad behavior that comes with those arrested. When you are eating this money, you eat this money alone. You don't eat the money with us. You eat it alone. Carry your cross alone. Don't play to the public gallery. There is a group of individuals or a group of social media workers or social media maniacs who have turned themselves to sympathize with thieves. If you are a thief, you are a thief. You have stolen, you are stolen. You can run to social media, to the Twitter, to the Facebook, and tell people you are clean. But when you are stealing this money, you are stealing alone. When you are going to negotiate for these kickbacks, you are kickbacking alone. Why do you draw people into a war that they are not involved in? Why draw us into something that we are not concerned? Tabitha Karanja could be a woman who came from the scratch. But coming from the scratch does not mean you don't abide by the rules. The rules are very clear. You can't produce alcohol and then name cocktail, beverage. There's a difference between alcohol and a beverage. Alcohol, which is toxicated alcohol, is different from water and soft drinks like a Mirinda and a Coca-Cola. So when you produce Coca-Cola and you produce alcohol, 10 million bottles, then declare this alcohol as bottles of 10 million bottles of soft drinks or bottled water. You have made a mistake. You are going to be caught. So once you are caught, stand down in your room, running to the public gallery. And those who are politicians who run, employment is needed. So what? Employment is needed, but employment must be in the right channel. The courts can sort who was wrong, who was right. For governors, senators, and others to stand up to say, our place has been targeted, employment will go down. But you are employing people wrongly on a wrong basis. You are not telling them that this is the way I have to pay from the labor that they have gone. You have to pay accordingly. You cannot declare alcohol as bottled water. This is the truth. And this truth set us free. Another thing is the question of the people who have not listened to the president of late. On Tuesday, on 22nd, the president told you, President Uhuru Kenyatta, in his legacy, you remember I'm the one doing his legacy, and I've told you I'm writing chapter, I'm now on chapter 3, his legacy. He told you leadership does not mean you come from a special group. Leadership is quality. Qualities. Are you able to run Kenya after we've gone? Are you able? Just put your credentials. Don't tell us about compensation or politics because you are short, you are tall, you are lame, you have no shoes, you have shoes, you have better shoes, you have better cars, you are driven to school. That is not leadership. You can be driven to the school when you have no qualities of being a leader. How many people were driven to their schools? Even how many people were sent by choppers, but they don't have leadership qualities. So the president was simply telling you to avoid the politics of compensation, compensational politics. 2, while at CITICAM, the president was at it again. And in CITICAM, the president was very categorical. He was now preaching to the people in parables. And those who had ears heard. Those who don't have ears might continue to be as they are until they misunderstand themselves. But those who had ears heard. What did the president say in CITICAM? In CITICAM, the president said, President Uhuru Kenyatta, while at the CITICAM anniversary, he said, most politicians have fashioned the hypocrisy to the level that they preach water, yet take wine. It is not how much you pray to God, but how you live in his ways. Read between the lines. Whether you pray to God every evening, but as long as you preach different things and do different things during the time or night time, you go and break people's banks, collect money. At night time, you go and do prostitution, come back. At night time, you go and become a wizard, then come back. God does not operate that way. He sees everything that you do. So let's preach water and drink water. Don't preach water and drink wine. Machiavellian politics seem to have sunk quite a lot in Kenyan political body politic. And it is threatening the peace, tranquility, and the unity of this country. People plant stories in the newspapers. They go back to defend the same stories. And they say, I don't know. If you can see a politician saying, I am not the one practicing politics, but surely every Kenyan watching you knows that you have been saying, there are people who are against me, but I will fight them up to the end. Is that not politics? There you are. I leave it to you Kenyans to make a decision to see whether people have truth or they tell lies. How many lies can we work with? Can such people be entrusted with leadership of this country? When you tell people, I don't practice politics. But there are people, if you are a leader and your people started speaking in front of you, you reprimanded them. You can't have people belittling a president of the Republic of Kenya in front of you. I'm just a friend, a volunteer friend. I did not ask for friendship. I found myself a friend. But if you belittle President Uhuru Kenyatta in my presence, whether in London, whether in South Africa, whether I will stand up and say, no, you can't belittle my friend. That's what friendship is. But the people watch the president being belittled, insulted, the president being, told so many things. So many things. So it is not worth it. The president might not complain, but people who are friends of the president might complain. And that's why you find yourself always at the crossroads with them. Because you talk politics, you allow people to talk politics while they are there. They are watching. We see this on TV every day. Thank you very much, viewers. We leave it to that. The president has said and he has spoken. We come and we have talked about if you produce alcohol, don't declare alcohol as soft drinks or water. That is the problem of the karaoke factory. There's nothing less, nothing more that I want to say more than this. I want to make it very clear that that is up to the law. They are in the court. And that is what is going to happen. Thank you very much. I move on to another topic, which is a topic very interesting. Most of you must have had numerators coming to your doors. There is a very good, I found mine just as I was coming to this place. She said she was coming to count, to enumerate me. I don't know what questions, so I will not say, but those, there are some people sending me messages right now saying, breaking news, Census Day 1, female numerator gang raped in Masemo. This is not very good. Female numerator missing in Kisii. Creates a scene upon discovering a photo of her husband in one of the houses. This is, please, let's not make this a joke. This social media be there. But are the questions that the census enumerators asking, do they concern you? Do they concern Kenyans? Answer those questions. I'm told they ask about eyesight. When they are asking about the eyesight, it is true. They want to find out how many people are disabled so that they can prepare a budget for disabled people on eyesight. So don't think that questions they're asking are silly. I've seen so many of my friends. Thank you very much, viewers. And the viewers, now that brings us to our second part of the show. And as usual, we start with other African countries. We have now done with Kenya. Now we start with other African countries. Somalia. From 1991, Somalia has been a battlefield of the West against the West, against itself. Somalia against itself. Siad Barre's departure marked a beginning of a bad Somalia. A Somalia that needs prayers. A Somalia that has lots and lots of problems to solve. A Somalia that needs pacification. A people of Somalia have been distributed worldwide as a result of the war, as a result of the bad advice that the United States of America gave Ziad Barre to create devolution. Devolution in Somalia created what we call a military coup that ended up overthrowing Ziad Barre. The people of Somalia have endured the hardship since 1991. We, the neighbors, have been affected by a bad Somalia. We have been destroyed by a bad Somalia. We have been injured one way or the other by relatives of ours who were Somalis, by Ziad Barre, a nationalist. Remember, Somalia played a part in the liberation of most of the African countries that were under colonial rule. It is Somalia that gave its passports to the people of liberation movements like South Africa, Tanzania, Zimbabwe, Angola, Namibia, Maputo, Mozambique. Most of them, you find Somalia played a vital role during the Ziad Barre government to liberate these colonies that were under colonial yoke. In 1991, a military coup took place, removed Ziad Barre. Somalis were scattered all over the whole world. Some went to the United Kingdom, some went to Kenya, some went to Uganda. My country, Uganda, has one of the best cream of Ugandan Somalis. The people who are working hard, the people who have the economy at their heart, they work hard, they have improved, they have become stable, resettled in Uganda. Somalia has suffered equally the problems of insurgency, first created by several forces that came up to fight for power after the departure of Ziad Barre. The Union of Courts came to power. It swept itself to power. The Ethiopians went. The story of Somalia up to where we are today presents a problem for East Africa and the Horn of East Africa. Somalia can make or break the peace in this region. But there are things that have changed of late. And one of the things that have changed is the attitude of the government in Mogadishu. What is happening to Famijo is what I don't know. Famijo, like most of us who have lived in exile and had a lot of international exposure, would be serving this country with decorum. But he seemed to be serving this country annoyed of himself. Very negative in the thinking. There are people who fear to talk about this. But me, I will not fear to talk about it. Because at my age, if I don't talk, then who else in Africa will talk? I've lived on planet Earth over 60 years. I am still strong, and therefore I can give wisdom. The leadership of Mogadishu is playing a proxy war of its own, funded, executed by external forces. The we in Uganda and Kenya and other countries, Ethiopia, Djibouti, that have played a role in the pacification of Somalia are watching this hidden hand that is pushing the government in Mogadishu to do funny things on international scene and in the local scene. It is sad, therefore, for an African to sit and watch this situation go on building day and night. The atmosphere, the exchanges of letters that we see at the expense of our troops that are still fighting and being killed by Al-Shabaab in Somalia. We are not going to keep quiet. Maybe the only way now is to shout and talk so that people can have sense, so that the sense of belonging, the sense of being, the sense of value can return to Somali President Famijo. President Famijo, Africa does not solve problems the way you want to solve. You can rely on international scenery trying to solve the problem, but that problem won't go away because you still remain an African. I want to state categorically that there are external forces that are engineering, equipping, funding, logistically, the government of Mogadishu at the expense of us who have struggled for them, who have been there for them, who have lost brothers, sisters, killed, maimed on the battlefields in Mogadishu and in the entire Somalia. For us, our fight is not going to end by just speaking. We want to be practical. We want to give guidance, solutions. The issue of Somalia and its border can be discussed in an African manner. I don't think for people to be paid money to go to The Hague can resolve the conflict. After all, you'll come back and you'll need the neighbor. I am against any system that goes to yap in international systems. Oh, help me. What will they help you? They will not help you. They will make a resolution, but still you'll come to live. If we are looking for African integration, and these borders are borderless tomorrow, why do you worry so much to seek the border? This is my question today. Why do you raise the issue of a border today, which you have not raised for a long time? This is my question today. We are saying we're Africa. We're African, we need integration. Then why are we raising the issue of the border? Why are we not using these resources as Africa? Why can't we use these resources, all of them, wherever they are, as Africans? Why do we take issues? Why do you take, who is this paying? Who is this paying Somalia to go and choose Kenya? Who are these people behind it? What are their aims? What do they want to get? Where were they when we were dying in Somalia? Why were they waiting to see that peace is returning? Then they start dividing the things that they want to take. Africa has to be careful. Africa has to stand up. Africa has to talk about this. We are not going to have this type of mentality coming into Africa, where Somalia, after us suffering, dying in Somalia, pacifying Somalia, They come in and take everything, including making sure that we disagree, disintegrate as Africans. It's a sorry state for you people, and take note that some of us are not very happy with the happenings that are taking place in the Horn of Africa. The president of Somalia, Mr. Famijo, is acting as if he is not an African. We are aware he had an American passport, which is very good. But we want to ask him not to act like a General Haftar Khalifa of Libya. Because he has got an American passport, he's killing Libyans of their own, in his own country, and wanting to take over Tripoli. Then whom will you rule? You are bombarding the same Libyans, then you want to become a leader of Libya because you have got a cheap American passport. It is sad, and therefore we are not going as Africans. Sit down to bring, we are looking for integration. The question is, if we are looking for integration, why are we looking for borders? Who put there the borders? Who of us here was present when the border was demarcated? Who of us here sat in 1884 when the partitioning of Africa took place and saw and decided that this is where I will end? Who are these same people coming today, disguised as opportunists, trading, wanting to trade with us, wanting to take whatever we have? Why, when did they realize that there was oil in Somalia? When did they know that there was that oil in that ocean? These are the factors that Africans must begin together instead of rushing to international court that solve no problem but increase tension. International court might decide, but what will you do? We have seen examples of Nigeria and Cameroon. You see how they solved the problem without going to international court to divide them. Don't divide East Africans further by going to this court, which will not deliver a verdict that will make Africa integrated, but will deliver a verdict that will divide Africa more. I want to find out why people in Africa behave the way they behave. Why do they do this? Why? I leave the question to you. Somalia, are there external forces that are pushing for a regime change mechanism for taking the resources of Somalia, that they want to push this country to war with other countries in the region? Are there forces? These forces are the same, if they are found out, are the same forces, if you trace back, that have captured the African Union, that has made African Union a slave. These forces are the same that has created a war in Democratic Republic of Congo, that has just disrupted the welfare and the running. On Friday, I was talking about Democratic Republic of Congo. Thanks God, now you know. In my program, The Punch, I talked about the DRC. Now you know that I was predicting the truth. Have you seen the war? It has erupted very badly in Eastern Congo. And the fighting is different from the tactics that were used before. I have been right, and I will be right. I will be vindicated. Let's move on. Somalia poses a threat to national security and international regional security around the region because elements of external nature are being pushed to push the Somali government into doing things in order to keep permanently. For example, Qatar the fight between Qatar and United Arab Emirates, and Saudi Arabia, and Turkey. These are the countries in Somalia. Qatar plays a pivotal role. Qatar disagrees with Saudi Arabia. Qatar disagrees with United Arab Emirates. The flights of Qatar don't pass through UAE. The flights have been put on a long route. But Qatar has arrived in Somalia to create chaos, which will mean literary service from Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. Turkey is on the front. Where were these countries when we are liberating, starting to send troops? Uganda sent troops into Somalia to keep the people of Somalia, the few left there, to keep them safe. We did not go to Somalia to occupy it. We wanted to retain a country in Africa named Somalia. Where was Qatar when we did this? Where was United Arab Emirates? United Arab Emirates today is giving arms to General Khalifa Haftar of Libya to kill Libyans. And the people are here smiling, talking about smiling. General Assisi of Egypt has connived with UAE to deliver arms to destroy the government of Libya, which we recognized. United Arab Emirates delivers arms, planes, to General Khalifa Haftar, who's bombing Tripoli. We are here smiling. Let's go. Now today, the regional powers are already in African issues. Let's look at the Sudan. In Khartoum, two factions of regional powers seem to be on different sides of the revolution. Some supporting the military council and some supporting the demonstrators. The regional powers, in fear of such revolution spreading across the Red Sea, Saudi Arabia fears the revolution of an offspring spreading across Red Sea into Riyadh and other capitals, are supporting the military council. If you see regional powers positioning themselves over issues that touch Africa, then you know there is an external hand. There is an external hand in the wars that Africa fights. I pray for you, Africa, and I hope Somalia will soon realize that going to the International Court of Justice does not pay. You will not change the neighbors. Neither will you change. We are looking for an integrated Africa. Then some people are talking about boundaries. Are we real? Are we real? Are we real? Are we real? I want to find out. How many of us, why we are seeking boundaries at this hour when we say we want an integrated Africa? When will Africa be integrated? When will Africa become one nation with Africa free trade? Then we are going to go to accuse others in International Court of Justice that you have taken my land. Then what is it that we are looking for? Why do we waste people's time to talk about African integration? Next on the platform is the country called Zimbabwe. It is very sad that I sit here in this chair day in, day out, talking about a country that I have suffered much for, a country that have stood for since 2002. I have been at the forefront discussing Zimbabwe, defending Zimbabwe, standing by Zimbabwe, even when the international community and the entire world turned its back on Zimbabwe. And I was in Britain. Those of you watching me, you would see my voice coming out on Voice of America or BBC or Sky News or ITN or CNN, standing by Mugabe. After Mugabe's departure, chaos subsided. We got in Emerson Mnangagwa, a great friend of mine, for over 17 years. President Emerson Mnangagwa, I knew him in 2001 when he was in Parliament. He became a Speaker of Parliament. When I visited Zimbabwe during elections, we became very great friends. But what has happened in Zimbabwe is a curse. The economy of Zimbabwe is cursed. The economy of Zimbabwe is cursed because I want to put my production to pick up from here, the tape. Zimbabwe's economy is cursed because we have a bad leadership running the treasury of the people of Zimbabwe. President Emerson Mnangagwa should have picked a person who understands the political, social, economic apparatus of what the economy of Zimbabwe needs. President Emerson Mnangagwa would have been able to walk out of this quagmire of the economy by picking a leader, a person who is able to manage the economy. The current Minister of Finance is a parrot of George Soros, Brent Woods institutions. He cannot run the economy. A person who always talks of hiked prices, hiked percentage, hiked fuel, cannot help you in a struggle where regime change is near the doorsteps. President Emerson Mnangagwa, dear brother, time has come to change the direction. The Zimbabwe economy is the Waterloo of the government of Zimbabwe. It is important, therefore, for us to do what we call fatigue evaluation. Is there a need for fatigue evaluation? Is the system moving forward? Is there an investment that is coming as it was, as people were willing to come with investment? It is very shocking at this age that America is piling pressure and sanctions on Zimbabwe, that the same American people, through a proxy, send one to be the chairman of Zimbabwe Reserve Bank, or the Central Bank of Zimbabwe. I want to ask, what is this that we Africans get confused when it comes to the direction of our own policies? Here is a country that has hammered sanctions, and here we are. We have got their own native coming to manage and micromanage our finances to find out why we went wrong. But then he's not going to tell America to remove sanctions before he manages the same place. Are we cursed? I believe the people of Zimbabwe, I believe the president will look at this and review the appointment of Mr. Mark Holzman. Mr. Mark Holzman can be very good in Rwanda, but he cannot be very good in Zimbabwe. He will bring you the mobs and the millions of people on the streets of Harare if you allow him to run your economy or your finances. Thank you. The next, I move to Ambazonia, Cameroon. Cameroon and the Ambazonian people have what we call a clampdown. A clampdown in the sense that there is nothing that has moved for the whole of last week in Bamenda. Mr. Biya has sent in troops to kill people, to maim people, to slaughter people, to injure people, to cut them to pieces, to rape women, to defile women. All this is done, humanitarian catastrophe increases day in, day out. It is therefore very prudent for us to look at what next can be done to force the government in Yaoundé to listen to the cries of the international community. Our people are being killed, many are dying, and many continue to die. We want a change, a fruitful change that will bring about a two-state analogy. There is no way you can have a one-state analogy in Cameroon. If you want to talk about Cameroon, talk about a two-state. Give Cameroonians their state. Ambazonians want a state. Give them to go. You have killed them enough. You have destroyed them enough. You have maimed them enough. You have murdered them enough. You have raped them enough. You have defiled their children enough. Can they go? Give them a chance to go. Mr. Paul Biya leave a legacy as the only president after Ahidjo who decided to give Ambazonians freedom to live. You will be remembered if you did that at the age of 89. Your health is ailing. Give these guys a chance to go. Let them govern themselves. The suffering, the maiming impacted on them by the army from Yaoundé is greater than the pain that we see in hell. It's better we all go to hell than live in Bamenda, than live in Ambazonian land, which is clamped down. The type of photographs I have got, the type of videos that have come from Bamenda, Ambazonia, Boa, and other states make me cry tears every day. As I speak about this subject, my eyes roll down with tears, and I feel very, very, very sad when you see children who have not gone to school for all this time. Children who have not been to school for 3 years. The children that Mr. Biya has curtailed from going to school. Schools have been closed in Ambazonia for 3 years. What generation are we putting forward today as Africans? Are we not ashamed to have your children seated in the bushes, being raped in front of their mothers, mothers being raped in front of their boys, children, by an army on this continent? And yet Africa does not talk about it. We run around, we even enjoy our fruits, our drinks, our wines, and talk nothing but allow the children of Ambazonia to be maimed. It is sad. It is sad. It is very sad for me to have 3 years ago to have started this program on Ambazonia, not knowing that one day I will sit here and see the same Ambazonia butchered, killed without change. But change does not come gradually. It comes instantly. I believe the voices that we have made, the noises that we have made, will give the courage to the international community to give the people of Ambazonia the freedom they yearn for, and to allow them to go to create a state under Resolution 1608 that was passed in 1961. I believe, therefore, that Paul Biya can leave a legacy by giving Ambazonians a state of their own. Thank you. Let me now finally come to Nigeria. In my pursuit of political science, I've never come across a country that failed to understand itself like Nigeria. First, I thought Idi Amin was worse in understanding himself. But I have discovered that either we have wrong things for wrong alternatives, or we have a very different approach. Nigeria suffers from great difficulties. Boko Haram has killed people in North America, Nigeria, in Sahara region. ISIS is coming in. Boko Haram is being divided in two factions. Nigerian president came to power on the pledge that he will remove Boko Haram from the surface of planet Earth. Today we see Boko Haram walk freely in Nigeria. We see no change coming into the places where Al-Qaeda and other mercenaries seem to be occupying and gaining momentum in occupation. Are we cursed as Africans? Yes. Are we cursed? Do we focus on what we want to do for our people? We turn on our own people. The question of Biafra raises serious questions in that ECOWAS triangle. Human rights abuses that are taking place in Nigeria today are worse than the human rights taking place in a war zone. Nigeria is not a war, is in a war zone situation because people are voices. The videos that I cannot play on this platform make us think there is something that is not very good. I pray that God will help us one day, that Nigeria will rise and shine again. The people of Biafra will rise and shine to be given the utmost respect that they deserve in the world where the equals must remain equals. Lastly, I want to take this opportunity to thank everybody, especially the people who have listened to our programs, that we are here to stay. We are here to tell you the story of Pan-Africanism. It is our service to the people. We have no regrets for having been as we are, but we thank God for keeping us as we are. I thank you all. Tomorrow at 11 East African time, we come back. We shall be with you with a bang. Thank you very much. God bless you. God bless Africa. This station, therefore, is for Africa, with Africa, by Africa. Ciao.